welcome to yet another exciting edition of The Other Perspective, proudly brought to you by ACFIN. The Other Perspective is a space where we interrogate the thing behind the thing that is the thing. My name is Elizabeth Karunji and I'll be moderating today's show. And before we delve into today's discussion, let me request you to subscribe to ACFIN's YouTube channel, press the like button down below, and you can also share the link with your friends to be part of this discussion. Today's discussion is on Uganda's coffee deal, and we will be reading in between the lines. But before we start, let me give you some context to the show. Media has been awash with reports on a questionable coffee agreement between the government of Uganda and the Uganda Vinci Coffee Company Limited, reportedly owned by an Italian investor, Enrico Pinetti. It remains unclear what the value add of this company is to the coffee sector, and its accrued benefits to the ordinary coffee grower remain nebulous. This agreement remains shrouded in secrecy, and its details are only known to a few people in government. The Minister of Agriculture, the Solicitor General, who is required to, by law, to opine on such agreements, the Coffee Development Authority, and the Committee on Agriculture in Parliament have never seen it. On the surface, it looks as if Madame Pinetti is given a license to loot within the law. And today I'm honored to have three young panelists on the show, and they're no strangers to the show. I'll begin with introduction, then I'll begin with Priska Wanyenya. She is a parliamentary journalist and also a usual panelist on the show. Priska, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning to our listeners.
Thank you, Priska. I also have Abel Eseru. Abel is a political scientist and a usual face here from The Other Perspective. Abel, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and I want to thank all those who are outside following us, and I hope that they will stay with us until the end.
All right, and then lastly, we have Gerard Koraneza. Gerard, can you hear us? Gerard is a youth in politics activist, and he has also been on the show a couple of times. We're glad to have you once again, Gerard.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to our great viewers wherever they are.
All right, thank you, Gerard. So I'll get in right to it, and I'll begin with you, Abel. What is the role of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority in deals of this nature? Because it looks like the authority has been bypassed.
Thank you, Lisa, for that. Before I respond about the roles or functions of Uganda Coffee Development Authority, I would like first of all viewers to understand why is coffee an issue in Uganda? Why is that the coffee deal, the coffee agreement has brought a lot of intense disagreement within the public and those who signed it. First of all, one thing people need to know that coffee is one of the most sacred and traditional crops in Uganda. It has remained an important cultural pillar, which people always use to make agreements, acquire loans, and also welcome visitors. You know, every time people come to home, they tell you, come for coffee, can I give you some coffee? And also when they're celebrating their friendship, they say, can we go and have some coffee? Even when they're having new homes. Economically, currently, coffee is the second largest foreign exchange earner for Uganda. That is after gold. So coffee is a very important issue because it's a sign of wealth in most of the different societies in Uganda, especially those areas that grow coffee. That is Buganda, Bugisu, and some parts of Ankole. So you find that coffee is so important to the livelihoods of Ugandans. And if I am to go back to your question, where you want to know what the role of Uganda, whether Uganda Coffee Development Authority really played anything and its functions in this signing of this agreement, I will first start with informing you that yesterday when I was going through some of the websites, I came across an article on the State House websites, which shows that in July 2014, Uganda Vinci Coffee Company Limited delegation was led by Ms. Enrique Pinetti and was accompanied by the then Managing Director of Uganda Coffee Development Authority, Mr. Henry Ngabirano. They met the President Museveni, at his country home in Rwakitura. And it's reported that the discussions were around how Uganda Vinci Coffee Company wanted to establish a company at Namavi that would be roasting, manufacturing, and packaging instant coffee for export and home use. So I heard that during that meeting, they even demonstrated by making for the president some mini coffee, coffee using their delicious samples they had, and the president was very impressed with what they made. And I can verbatimly read what was published on the website, what the president said, that I have spent a very long time trying to get somebody to add value to our coffee. Uganda has been a donor by exporting raw coffee. Those are some of his remarks. So if Uganda Vinci Company, Coffee Company Limited, and the then managing director of Uganda Coffee Development Authority met the president in 2014, it shows you that Uganda Coffee Development Authority has been in this, in trying to lobby for this deal way back, though we did not see them come out and be part of the signing and taking the pictures, but shows you that the process of coming into this agreement, Uganda Coffee Development Authority participated in it. Back to the functions of Uganda Coffee Development Authority. First, one of the functions, I will not mention them all, but one of the key functions that they do is to regulate all activities within the coffee value chain, on the farm and off-farm coffee activities. And also, the main thing which I will highlight is they also promote, strengthen, register coffee farmers, farmers groups, associations, and cooperatives, processors, roasters, brewers, and traders, middlemen, persons, or bodies. But also they register all coffee exports. So if you look at a group like Uganda Vinci Coffee Company Limited, it needs to be, it first needs to go through Uganda Coffee Development Authority, of which we have just shown you that way back in 2014, the then managing director of Uganda Coffee Development Authority went with them and met the president. That's where they initially started kicking off the deal of this coffee. So when I see people trying to roast the Ministry of Finance and they forget where the deal was struck, then they should not know how this country is being managed. But if you meet the president and the president okays and tells you that it's okay, I think I found a person who can add value in the coffee that we have been donating, then you should know that everything was done way back in 2014. So all this we are saying is just finalizing in what they had agreed upon. That's what I can say for now.
All right. Thank you so much, Abel, for giving us that background on this deal. And Priska, it is my understanding that this deal was signed as far back as 2015, just like Abel said, the Uganda Vichy company lady, Pinetti, and the then UCDA boss met with the president in Ratitura. And then a year later, this deal was signed. How come no one knew about it then and it's just raising dust right now? And is it a brand new agreement? Has it been amended? What was in that agreement in 2014?
Thanks so much, Lisa. And first of all, I have to apologize to our viewers for the slight late delay for about 8 minutes. Yeah. So on back to your question, when the documents that are making rounds indicate that the deal was recently signed, but there is a possibility that there were some amendments made to it that finalized the deal. So this is likely to be the amended deal. And from what I know is, I think the delay came on the background of us government not having an enabling law that would compel farmers, and that is why that provision of registering farmers was included in the National Coffee Act. So whereas the deal was already on the table, as Abel has narrated, but the people behind it knew that it was likely going to be challenged in court on legal grounds on how would you compel farmers and everything. So they had to put the law in place before they would activate the what? They will activate the deal. And on why it took the public by surprise, I think one of the factors is the individual behind it, Pineti. Already she was in the news because of the Loboa hospital deal, and before we even see anything tangible from the hospital, then here comes the coffee deal also. So that also played a critical role on making sure. And the other thing that I know in the mafia world, probably someone got cheated on the deal, and that is my assumption. Someone got cheated on the deal and had to leak the information to the media about it. Because first of all, when you see the timing of when the agreement was made public vis-a-vis the time when the deal was signed, usually those agreements are taken as confidential, even if they are brought to parliament. They usually, it's a closed door meeting with media out. So it's someone who felt frustrated about the deal that made sure that that the information is leaked. So it's like getting back to the public. So basically that is the only thing that would explain. But from what Abel has said, this deal has been in the pipeline for a long time. Because remember, Pinetti, after after that State House visit, she went to URSB and registered the company about some few months after, about 3 or 4 or 5 months after. So that has been the chronology. You first go meet the president and you secure the deal, go register the company, have the enabling law where you not be criticized or taken to court about it. So that is basically the chronology that was. So the National Coffee Bill was just brought to in order to sanitize this whole deal. So now the MPs cannot blame anyone because they're the ones who passed the bill that mandates government to register all the coffee growers and everything, anyone in the sector. So basically that is the thing.
Is that the company was registered in January of 2014, and then they met the president in July of that year. So that's about 6-7 months down since they registered. But anyway, so Gerard, the permanent secretary to the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi, stated that government conducted all the necessary due diligence on this company, and they are convinced that the Uganda Vinci Coffee Company Limited will deliver. But when I last checked, and that is a few minutes ago, the company has no website, has no social media presence whatsoever. And if a company doesn't exist online, aren't we dealing with a briefcase company?
Thank you, Lisa, for that very good question. I will also supplement on Abel's submission by really stating that coffee is our sacred crop, both actually culturally, and even in terms of livelihood. I will tell you that over 2 million Ugandans derive their livelihood on coffee. So coffee as a crop, it benefits a lot to Ugandans. I want to categorically tell you that a lot of actually revenue that we usually Uganda gets from exporting coffee, it contributes. Can you hear me, Lisa? Lisa?
Jared, I can hear you. Keep going.
So coffee is the leading. It is one of the leading,
We seem to have lost Jared. Abel, I'm going to bring you in on that. I hope you had the question. This company has no presence online. They have no website. We don't even know about their physical location, and yet the permanent secretary to the treasury states that they did all the necessary due diligence. What's your say on that? How do we trust that this company is real?
It's so interesting that when we checked, we did not find anything like.
These are,
I think Gerald is back. So let him
yeah,
Yes, we had
these
lost
are
you, but
on you asked me a question on the feasibility. Of course, the government has put out rightly that it has been doing the due diligence, but of course, I was just giving you the background of our coffee, how most of the people benefit. This over the 6 million people benefit from the coffee, the coffee industry. Really, bringing like an investor like Vinci on in this very industry on value addition, because we see that over that over 600 tons that is going to be processing over 600 tons, to add the value addition, to get the market in European market, because we are targeting over 8. Is it over? I think over 40 billion US dollars market on the European market. So there is that kind of value addition. So the due diligence that the government, has been talking about, Abil has categorically said that this woman met the president in 2014. I think this is a briefcase investor who just came in around here. So I believe the government has been, monitoring closely how it operates its operation, because you see the woman met by then the executive director for Uganda Coffee Development Authority in 2014. So I believe the government has been monitoring this investor closely, but without also having a website or a social media. There are some organizations that do operate, of course. Okay, an individual may be having his own money, and then he wants to invest it. Then he just maybe comes up with something, but I believe probably the government has been working closely. Some top officials have been, working closely with this woman, because I believe this woman is the same woman who has been given the Roboa project. That's where I usually actually get my disappointment from, because he has failed to deliver on Roboa project. So I think the government really knows this very particular person. The only thing that I'm pessimist about is on the delivery, because this is the woman whom we have given the Roboa hospital and he has failed to deliver on it. So I believe the government knows this very particular individual that has given this coffee deal. Over to you, Lisa.
yes. Thank you, Jared. And to you, Abdul. In this day and era, for a reputable company not to have a social media presence, and if we're looking at the individual that they claim to have done the due diligence on, her reputation is not all that good, because we have seen the Luboa hospital that was interested with her, and it hasn't yet been started or initiated. Why would they entrust Uganda's coffee to a company owned by this lady?
That's a very good question, Lisa, and it reminds me of some of the dealings that happened in South Africa. If you do know the looting that happened in South Africa and led to the arrest of the president, and also some fled. There's a scholar whom I read this book about that very thing. It's called Stefan Hofstadter, who wrote on the license to loot. He wrote a book called License to Loot, which points out how complex looting schemes involve politicians, bureaucrats, and investors work together to steal the country's resources. So they bring pseudo investors who come and claim they take pictures and they claim these are investors who are going to work with us, who are going to help the country in terms of making more revenue and bringing in more money, helping industrialize our country. But if you double click on some of those investors, for example, in Stefan Holzhauer's book, he points out that some of these investors are being used by these bureaucrats and politicians to launder money on behalf of these politicians and bureaucrats. So I don't want to rule out the possibility that we might also have some of those investors in Uganda whom we always see. They give them deals, they don't complete the deals, but Ugandans have spent a lot of money in terms of facilitating them to do the work. We are talking about the Lubua Hospital, which is not complete. And we're again seeing the same investors being given the coffee deal. So we ask ourselves, why is it that government, if you're talking of that you've done the due diligence on someone, first start with the track record of working with you as a government. If this person has worked with us before as government, and we have seen that there are some deals or government programs she has not completed, why would you go ahead and add her another government program or government deal which involves coffee? She has never engaged in coffee before. She has never engaged with any other country before in terms of dealing with coffee. So why give her the deal, yet she doesn't have all those? If you're talking of due diligence, you have to look at, has he ever done that business before with any other country? Does she have any reputable relationship with any other coffee dealers outside the world? You're talking of her not having a social media visibility. Currently, in this era of which we are living in, you cannot be operating on behalf of any government where if someone just needs to search for you online and get to know that, okay, Uganda which company exists. But now if I search for you online, I can't find you. Then which kind of organization is that? That brings the reputation of organizations to question. So as Ugandans, we do very, very, very concerned about some of these investors they bring to us. Of course, we do know that Uganda Investment Authority is an open gate which has to bring in investors to the country. But there are also allegations that it could have been that Uganda Investment Authority did not even participate in bringing in some of these investors. So we need to also question, why is it that these investors are bypassing some of the relevant authorities and they are coming through as individuals? So it could point out to issues of state capture, whereby you have certain individuals who have a lot of power and they even supersede the powers of the institutions that have been put in place to make sure that government operates normally. So you find that informal entities or informal powers within government have more power than the formal institutions. So you end up finding that all the deals which have been struck by the government are always done by those informal powers. So the formal powers are always neglected.
All right. Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Abel, for that. We're going to go for a short break. And after that, we'll talk about the role of the Uganda Investment Authority in this whole deal.